Yep, me again. So some of you may run into the problem where your airbrush just stops pushing out paint, and you're trying and trying and trying and nothing comes out but air. Some of you may have been watching some of the videos where you see other people using their airbrush like this and not putting that end cap on. There actually is a connection between these two things. One thing you can do whenever your airbrush stops putting out paint and it's just putting out air, well, you know that this isn't clogged if air is coming out, because if this is the source of the clog, you're going to have bubbles in this tank here and absolutely nothing's going to come out here. So the first thing that I always do, and let's see if I can put the camera down for just a second so I can try to get hold of that. No tripod, folks, no tripod. So one of the things that I do is I'll take that end cap off of this. I'll take 2 fingers, and then I'll do right like that and just pull on it. And sometimes I'll pull my needle back and forth, and you may see a glob of paint come up. I've just cleaned this little guy, so you won't see anything on him. But sometimes if you do this, you will see a little glob of paint come up where you've had a little bit of dry tip. You use your fingers, wipe it off, put your needle cap back on, unless you're doing hair thin lines, but you still want to be careful because once you bend that needle tip, it's useless. And try finding another needle at Hobby Lobby. Go on, I dare you. So that's the first source of problems that you get whenever your airbrush stops putting out paint. If it stops putting out paint and air, I recommend taking that same little cap off, using your little bristle brushes, and cleaning that out really well. Sometimes that little hole will actually get paint all around it, and you'll get dry tip that way, and it won't be able to actually push anything out. And like I said, you'll be able to tell by the air bubbles coming up in here. The second thing you can do is you can actually put your finger on the end of the airbrush, like so. Pull back your trigger, just like you normally would, and that will actually force the air to go back through here, up into here, and you'll see the bubbles come up in this chamber, and that bubbling action will actually clean off your needle sometimes and dislodge any clots. And if you can find any clots of paint in here, you can scoop them out and keep on rolling as usual. If neither of these things works, then your next option is to go to the back of your airbrush, unscrew this just a little bit, like thus and so. Pull your needle back and forth a couple times, like this. Put it back. Do the fingertip on the needle tip. You pull this cap off, of course. And then a lot of times that will actually dislodge your clots pretty quickly and easily, and you can continue on as usual. Now, for those of you who are actually brand new to airbrushing, here's what you need to know about cleaning. If you're using acrylic or water-based paints, like I do, I usually use that craft paint, Folk Art, Anita's, Americana, that kind of thing, the cheap stuff. You can just run some water through your brush, and generally you'll be fine. So the first thing I do, I pour some water in my cup up here, I swish it around like this, pour it out in my dishpan. Pour some more water, get a paintbrush and go down in here, rub the paintbrush against the needle. You can kind of see the needle down in that slot. Well, not on this one because I don't have any light on my camera, but you actually can on yours, I'm sure, and you can use your paintbrush to go around that needle, and you can do that pulling the needle in and out thing again too. And then the last step after you pour that out, put more clean water in, and then run your air through it until what comes out is absolutely pure water, just clean as a whistle. That's pretty much all you need to do to clean these things on a regular basis, unless you do get a great big clot or you do wind up having some kind of other serious issue. About once a month or so, if you airbrush regularly, I would go ahead and take the whole thing apart and just clean the needle real good. Just check it for any scratches, check it for any bends, check all your parts over. Or maybe once every 3, 4, 6 months, just depending on how often you use these things and what you go through. Now, if you're using solvent-based paints, obviously water's not going to work, but you can do pretty much the same process with the solvent cleaner. So if you're using solvent-based paints, urethanes, that kind of thing, make sure to pick up the cleaner too, guys, because water is not going to do a darn bit of good. The only other thing is that there is actually a cleaning station that you can get on the internet. I think it's an Iwata cleaning station that works for almost any of them. And you just put the tip down in it, and it will actually use some kind of ultrasonic and run it through and blah, blah, blah. I'm cheap. I didn't feel like paying for it, so I just do it the old-fashioned way. Also, whenever you connect up, sometimes you may want to check for if you're having the problem with no air coming out or no paint coming out. Check your system for leaks. You may have some leaks around here. You may be able to just tighten it up. Another guy I saw on the internet had some Teflon tape, I think he said, that he put on the threads here to keep that sealed very well between there. I could use saran wrap. He also mentioned beeswax, and that may help keep your airbrush from spitting and help keep you from losing air. As you see, I am a redneck, so I'm a fan of duct tape. I have duct taped right there, and I have duct taped on either side of my little moisture chamber that keeps moisture away from your actual airbrush itself. And I have duct taped toward the actual connection there to just kind of try to seal any leaks. Of course, the salon air, I had to actually take my back off, as you see, and go in and duct tape some of the tanks and whatnot, but that's going to be a separate video. Basically, I would recommend just, and I don't work for any company or whatever, but I would recommend against getting this compressor. I've had 2 of them. The first one broke in the first 2 days, stopped pushing through air at all. So they sent me another one, free of charge, thank God. And now this one, apparently there is some kind of, in this brand of compressor, some kind of air leak somewhere. Because this is now staying on continuously when I'm having to use it. And it's not filling up the tank anymore. And it actually has these moments, even in the middle of using it, where for no apparent reason, the needle will go all the way back down as all the air comes back down out of it. So I don't know what's going on there. I opened it up in desperation and put duct tape around every seal I could find and to try to seal off any air leaks, and still I'm having this problem. So if you're looking for a compressor for the first time and you don't know what you're looking for, this probably is not the best choice. It just happened to come with a kit, and the kit was cheap enough that even if I have to buy another compressor, the 3 airbrushes that came with it, I still got a really good deal, so I'm not that upset. But, you know, it's very frustrating having to actually stop and redo and whatnot. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys are having a great day. Happy crafting!